You hit a level that you've been working toward for months, maybe even a year, right? You've had the clients come in, the content started to land, and momentum started really building up. And then something happened, and it was likely very subtle. A decision that maybe felt like discernment or seemed reasonable, a distraction that felt justified, or even a conflict that seemingly came out of nowhere. And within weeks, sometimes maybe even days, you were right back at the level you started from. You've probably called it bad luck, burnout, bad timing, maybe even spiritual warfare. I'm about to tell you what it actually is. So stay with me, even if it gets a little uncomfortable. Because you didn't fail, you simply self-corrected. Your identity brought you home. Now, by the end of this video, you'll actually have a name for what's been going on, right? The exact mechanism that's been actually sabotaging your momentum. And I'm going to give you one question that tells you exactly where things are going off the rails for you. Okay. Now, if you're new here, then I want you to share, like, have you ever had a season of real momentum that just seemed to stop, right? All of a sudden, everything just was not going the way you expected it to. And maybe it wasn't from anything internal, right? But something in you felt like it shifted. So drop yes in the comments, or even share a little bit about what you've been experiencing in the comments, because I want to know how many of you are actually living this right now. So if you're new to my channel, I'm Lisa May Huby, and I'm a mentor for Christian women founders. So these women are established, they're capable and called, but they're still hitting that same invisible ceiling no matter what strategy they try or how hard they hustle. I've been working with online entrepreneurs for close to 2 decades now. And what I'm about to show you is the pattern that costs women the most, because it's the hardest one to catch yourself actually doing. A woman I was working with had been trying to cross a specific revenue number for 3 years. But every time she got close, like let's say within 20% of the target, something happened, right? She'd have a client cancel at the last minute, a launch underperformed on her, a health issue pulled her away, or some sudden family drama would derail her. So we looked at the pattern closely, and it was the same thing every time. The moment she got close to the goal, there was a decision that she made. Now, it was always a different decision and a different justification, but it was a decision that always slowed her down just enough to stay under the line. The thing is, she wasn't failing, right? She was simply correcting. Something in her was set below where she was trying to go, and it kept pulling her back there. Like there were invisible bungee cords that kept physically pulling her back. So the goal was never the problem. It was her internal set point, her internal thermostat. Okay, so this is what a thermostat does, right? It's not a concept. If you think about a furnace and the thermostat, if you want your house to stay at 73 degrees, you set the thermostat to 73 degrees, and it auto-corrects to that. If you want it to be hotter, you set it to 76 or 78 degrees, and it will keep correcting so it stays there. Okay? This is what happens internally with our internal set point, our internal thermostat. This is encoded into us actually physiologically in our nervous system. It's actually felt. Okay, so it's an internal sense of what's normal, what's safe, and what's allowed for a woman like you. Okay, so I actually call this your identity thermostat. The thing is, it got set over decades, right? By what you watched growing up, what you witnessed in your family, by what got rewarded and what got punished, by the version of success that your family, your community, your faith context could actually tolerate. Okay, so here's how it runs. As long as your results, your visibility, your income stay under that line, under that set point, then your nervous system stays calm, right? It's familiar, it's in the safe range. But the moment you rise above it, your system reads it as a threat. So it's not because there's anything wrong, right? You don't have a saber-toothed tiger chasing you, but because familiar feels safe and unfamiliar feels dangerous, right? Even when the unfamiliar thing is exactly what you've been praying for your whole life. So what happens is it self-corrects. It brings the temperature back to where it actually knows, where it feels safe. And that's why sabotage never feels like fear in the moment. It shows up as a sudden compelling reason to restructure your offer, tweak it one last time, a conflict with a key client that you just can't explain, a wave of uncertainty that, you're a fraud, you're going to be found out. It's who am I to talk about this thing, right? Or a quick break that you took that turned into 6 months. The thing is, none of it feels like self-sabotage while it's happening, right? Every single decision has a perfectly reasonable explanation attached to it. And that's the whole mechanism. This is why it's so sneaky. It doesn't destroy your momentum loudly or obviously, right? It dismantles it using your own logic against you. So that woman that I told you about earlier, her thermostat was set below her goal, the woman she had to become in order to achieve that goal. It kept bringing her home. So now you have a name for what happened to her and probably to you too. So think about the last time you had real momentum and then it vanished. What was the decision that shifted things, right? I'd love to hear that below. Drop it in the comments for me. So here's where most women misdiagnose themselves, right? Say sabotage and you picture self-destruction, right? It's obvious. Procrastination, avoiding, staying in bed, watching someone else succeed, but doing nothing about it. But that's not what it looks like at your level, right? In established, capable, uncalled women, sabotage is actually sophisticated. It uses your strengths as weapons. So it looks like perfectionism. The launch isn't ready, the message needs one more pass. You'll go when it's excellent and it's never excellent enough. It looks like generosity, right? You pour into clients beyond what you promised them, what the engagement called for, into your community, way past what's sustainable, into your family, even beyond what you have left to give. You empty yourself so completely, there's nothing left to build with. It can also look like humility. Who am I to charge that? Who am I to take up that much space? Who am I to call myself leader in this room? Or maybe it looks like wisdom to you. Now it just isn't the right time. The economy isn't right. Wait for the market to settle. Wait for the kids to get older or go back to school. Right? Those things are your internal thermostat just wearing a different costume. Now, I'm not telling you that your perfectionism is fake or that your generosity is calculated, your humility is an act, right? Those things are real in you. They're just being recruited. Your identity is borrowing what's genuinely good in you to actually hold you at a familiar temperature. It's essentially holding you hostage. So here's what I want you to sit with right now. Look at the decision you made right before the last time things slowed down. Now, was that God directing you, or was that more relief? Because peace and relief feel almost identical in the moment, but they produce opposite outcomes. Peace produces patience, clarity, and eventual forward momentum. But relief produces stagnation with a quiet anxiety that's actually running underneath it. So if what you felt was relief, Well, that's your thermostat right there. So peace or relief, and I want you to be honest. Which one were you actually feeling the last time you stepped back? Drop that below. I'd love to see that in the comments and find out exactly where you are. There's no judgment here. So how does this actually change? It's not with more information or more strategy, right? You can't think your way out of a thermostat. You can't strategy yourself out of it. You can't motivate your way out of it. You reset it by living a different identity long enough that it becomes the new normal. So a lot of people, you might hear in the new age niche or other areas, to act as if. But the thing is, act as if, to me, it feels like pretending. That doesn't mean anything to me. I've tried that before. It doesn't work, right? It does not work for me specifically. What I prefer to do, the way I prefer to look at it, is to practice being, right? Practice being the woman that has the things that I want, that has achieved the goals that I have set. So your thermostat was set by experience, and it's reset by experience. So specifically, a sustained lived experience of who God says you are instead of who your history trained you to accept. This is where I'm going to bring in Romans 12 verse 2. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Most people read that as a mindset instruction. Think better thoughts, journal more, speak more positively. But the Greek word for renewing is anakinosis. And if I butchered that word, my apologies. The thing is, it doesn't mean refresh. It actually means a complete renovation, a rebuild from the inside out. Your thermostat wasn't set by a single thought, so it won't be reset with one either. It resets through a sustained pattern of new lived experience, right? The practiced experience of holding that new identity under pressure until the new identity becomes the familiar one. That's what identity work actually is, right? It's not affirmations or declarations. It's not vision boards. It's the repeated scripture-rooted practice of being the woman God built you to actually be, especially when your circumstances, when the things that you see around you, your reality, haven't caught up to confirm it yet. Your thermostat resets to whatever temperature you hold most consistently. Okay? The woman who stays visible when no one's watching, who holds the vision through a launch that doesn't feel like it's working, who keeps building when things go silent or stop working. Okay? This woman isn't white knuckling through fear. She's reset. Right? She's operating from a new floor. So you've probably heard that your subconscious doesn't distinguish between what's real and what isn't. And that's what practicing being, right? This lived experience of the new identity that you want to embody, the woman that has achieved the goals, that has the YouTube channel and the platforms and the money, whatever that is for you. That person who's already achieved these things is operating at that higher level. Right? So that's the woman you want to embody and consistently and sustainably rewrite your mind, right? This groove and your internal thermostat that's set here, you want it so it's up here automatically, right? So that's, right now it's your ceiling. We want that to become your floor. Okay, so the results that used to live above your ceiling become the ground that you actually stand on. Okay, so that's not inspiration. That's what actually happens when you do this work. If this named something that has been going on for you and you've been experiencing it, if you saw yourself in the thermostat, in the sophisticated sabotage, in the moment when everything right before everything just seemed to fall apart, then I want you to know this, right? You're not broken. You're not somehow uniquely flawed. It's just that your identity was calibrated for survival. And survival identities are always set below the level of your actual calling. Now, the good news is that can change, and that is the work. So if you want more of this, then subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss next week's video. I put a new one out every week for women doing exactly this kind of work. So there's 3 things that we covered today. The first one is your identity has a thermostat. And the moment you rise above it, it simply self-corrects. Number 2, in high-achieving women, that correction looks like perfectionism, generosity, humility, even wisdom, and not obvious failure. And number 3, the thermostat resets through sustained identity work rooted in who God says you are, not what your history actually normalized. So I'd love to hear what questions you have. Drop them in the comments below, and I will respond. So if this landed for you, then send it to one woman you know who's close to her breakthrough and keeps watching it slip away, because she needs this. All right, so in faith and fire, I will see you in the next video.